Now on the news at 5, combating racism and fighting for real change. A local school district commits to being anti-racist, their vision for the future. Plus, a sign of change. We'll give you an update on a growing effort to change a street sign in North Portland, believed to be named after a supporter of slavery. But first, the coronavirus spikes in Oregon with some of the highest single-day totals for cases in just the past week. We'll take a look at outbreaks as the governor pumps the brakes on reopening. Your news starts right now. Thanks so much for being here with us. I'm Brittany Falkers. Restaurant owners tell us it will be years before Portland's restaurant scene resembles what it was before. The industry has taken some of the hardest blows during this pandemic, and Governor Brown's pause on Multnomah County's application to begin reopening came last minute, the night before many of these businesses were planning to open their doors. Now, that light at the end of the tunnel feels even further away. Morgan Romero talked to several restaurant owners about their plans.
Portland is defined by its vibrant culinary scene, but since March, that's been dulled.
It's just really become a bit unbearable to survive. So I don't know, there's a lot of odds against us.
Restaurants and bars hanging by a thread in an already tough industry took yet another hit this week.
It put me in a pretty foul mood.
When Governor Brown held off on okaying Multnomah County's application to enter Phase 1.
We've all been punched in the face now so many times in the last 3 months that, after a while you get used to it. So I wasn't surprised.
On Southeast Division, this Olympia provision spent hours and dollars laying the groundwork for sit-down service this weekend.
We had staff come off of unemployment, some. We have been open this entire time for takeout. So it wasn't like we, completely had to reboot the restaurant. But we did purchase, ingredients, food, and kegs of beer and whatnot.
Owner Nate Tilden says they'll be ready again when the time comes.
We'll scramble like crazy, and then we'll try to reopen.
But not everyone is singing the same tune after the letdown.
I will not do anything until I get a green light. I'm not going to prepare.
County leaders said things looked promising, so Ned Ludd took reservations.
He, ordered product up for that, started prepping for that probably on Tuesday.
And brought back staff who felt comfortable and safe returning.
But what we have been faced with now is getting, guns ablazing and everybody excited about reopening and getting public interest and getting really the only real revenue stream for us. And that's now been taken out from under us.
Meanwhile, many restaurant owners chose to watch and wait.
It just doesn't make sense to just open up and give it a try because you're just going to be losing money.
Dana McCurlin owns several popular spots in town, like Yakuza and Nona.
We weren't quite ready. My staff wasn't feeling comfortable. I think we really need to. Today is going to be the first day where several people are coming in. We're going to have a cleaning party and go over protocols and kind of figure out a plan.
Whenever restaurants do reopen, they have to gauge how many workers they'll need and how many even want to return.
We're being directed by a virus. It could uptick, and that's just the way it goes. So we have to try, and I know our government's trying, our leaders are trying, and I believe in them. They're saving lives.
As they try to keep their heads above water, restaurant owners watch as the industry changes before their eyes.
I don't know how and if we will recover and be the way it was. And in some ways, I don't think that the way it was sustainable or healthy.
Morgan Romero, KGW News.
And as we mentioned, there has been a spike in the number of new coronavirus cases across Oregon. Today, the health authority announced another 158 people have tested positive for the virus, and one more person has died. Now, some of the highest single-day totals for cases have come in the past week. OHA says the increase is because more people are being tested and contact tracers are detecting more cases, including outbreaks in workplaces. Some of the hot spots for infections include larger clusters at long-term care facilities. 69 people have tested positive in Canby at the Marquis Hope Village. 3 people have died. It's the second largest outbreak in the state after Foster Creek in Portland. In Salem, there have been at least 15 cases and 1 death at the Springs at Willow Creek, and at least 6 staff members at the Springs at Carmen Oaks in Lake Oswego tested positive. So far, seniors living there have not. Earlier this week, Governor Brown announced all staff and people living at Oregon long-term care facilities will be tested. Now, health officials say an employee at A. Lene Casino in Ridgeville has tested positive for COVID-19. The casino says the employee is home isolating for 2 weeks. A. Lene is on tribal land and not under county jurisdiction, but owners are working with health officials in Cowlitz County, where the infected employee lives. They're looking for anyone who came into close contact with the person. So far, they haven't identified anyone.
If we identify close contacts that happened at the workplace, we would notify those people and they would be asked to quarantine for 14 days since that exposure happened.
Other tribal casinos in Oregon and Washington are taking precautions for guests, such as requiring masks, taking temperatures at the door, and cleaning games after each use. Juneteenth is now a paid holiday for Multnomah County employees. This is video of events from last year. It marks June 19th, 1865, the day slaves were freed in Texas. Now, although this was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, it wasn't until this day that Union troops arrived in Texas and told slaves the Civil War was over and that they were free. Multnomah County employees aren't alone either. Nike just announced the company will also recognize Juneteenth as an annual paid holiday. The move comes amid ongoing protests in Portland and across our country against racial injustice that still exists today. A Change.org petition is gaining momentum this evening. The petition is focused on North Calhoun Avenue in the St. John's neighborhood. The creators of the petition say it's named after John C. Calhoun, who was the 7th vice president, but also a staunch defender of slavery. The petition would rename the avenue to DePriest Avenue after James DePriest, who was the music director and conductor of the Oregon Symphony for more than 20 years.
It's only four blocks, so it's not a big expense for the city.
And I think our one concern is that DePriest probably deserves a much bigger street.
Now, we reached out to the Portland Bureau of Transportation today, and they could not confirm that the street was named after Calhoun, but are willing to review any street name that has a history associated with racism or white supremacy. On Monday, the Tigard-Tualatin School Board approved a resolution condemning racism and committing to being an anti-racist district. So what exactly does that mean, and what will be different? Christelle Kumwe spoke to the board chair to find out.
Monkey, cotton picker, and slave. These are the words that I have been called in the hallway, during class, in the library, at a football game, by my fellow classmates.
Student stories like this one from a junior at Tigard High School, paired with nationwide protests calling for an end to systemic racism, prompted the Tigard-Tualatin School Board to take action. Maureen Wolf, board chair.
We are not getting where we need to be, given the voices that we heard Monday night.
During a virtual board work session Monday, the school board approved a resolution condemning racism and committing to being an anti-racist district.
Current policies address bullying and harassment, social media harassment, but this is saying it's not enough. It's not working.
Wolf says the heart of the resolution was to be specific in language and see action. Step 1, creating a hate speech policy.
This really pushes the envelope further to say no. What are you going to say to call it out? And then that next step is, so how do you operationalize that in our schools so that students know that it is defined in policy and it is going to be executed in our schools.
Work on the policy starts this summer, but what does it mean to really execute it in district schools?
So that is work that I wish I could give you all those answers, Christelle, but I can't. That has to be work as a collective with our students.
A second piece of the resolution was around curriculum.
Do I see all our students, as I turn the pages of that curriculum, reflected in this? Are we identifying pieces that really celebrate all cultures? And I think those are the pieces that, yes, we do that, but is it enough?
Wolf says a lot of work lies ahead, but she's ready to take on the challenges.
These students are just ready to share their stories and be brutally honest with us. And I'm ready to go.
We understand this resolution isn't going to magically solve any of these problems, but it does make a commitment to students, parents, teachers, and community members that we recognize these problems and the district will be actively working to fix them.
Christelle Kumwe, KGW News.